Good evening.
Good evening. It's Mark and John here from the UK.
UK. Mark's eating a carrot and I'm drinking wine, which sums up our lives.
So yes, here is another session, the latest session. Been a little bit of a gap.
Quite a gap.
And yeah, we're going to kick off with some great tunes. Where are they?
They're behind you, Mark. It's behind you. It's like a Punch and Judy show.
So we're just going to share the music that we've been listening to tonight.
We should say, I hope everyone's well.
Absolutely.
I know everyone's well, actually.
Yeah. And we started off with some Ramsey Lewis. This is the album Tequila Mockingbird. And it was the track Tequila Mockingbird, which is written by Larry Dunn from Earth, Wind and Fire, and features most of Earth, Wind and Fire on the track. It's like a very jazzy Earth, Wind and Fire track with a fantastic Verdine white bass line. Great tune, Tequila Mockingbird.
Should also say this record has on the back, please return to London Weekend Television Music Services. So,
unfortunately, it's not going back to London Weekend.
Back. I don't think it even exists anymore. I followed up then with Richard Popcorn Wiley from the album Extrasensory Perception with the track Extrasensory Perception. This is he was involved with the whole kind of Motown kind of sound, and it features most of the Motown crew on this record. James Jamerson, the whole bunch really, and played the first track on it.
Very fetching cover.
Very fetching cover. He was a geezer, I think we'd say in the UK.
A big geezer.
Nice records.
Yeah.
Quite hard to find now, actually.
Quite an un-Motown-like production.
Yeah.
Given that all of the Motown backing band are on it.
Yeah. It's got David Walker, Wawa, all the gang.
We went from that to Bobby Humphrey, the album Satin Doll, Bobby Humphrey the flautist, and it was the track New York Times. This is a classic Mizell Brothers production with that very, very distinctive Mizell Brothers sound. Harvey Mason on the bass, Harvey Mason on the drums, Chuck Rainey on the bass, Melvin Wawa Reagan on guitars. Yeah, great. It sounded fantastic, actually.
Yeah, it sounds amazing.
Really.
I mean, I could listen to their stuff forever, really.
Yeah.
It's just like having a very, very warm bath.
And this is on Blue Note, and there was at the very beginning of the session, John handed me a fantastic CD that he'd made called Blue Note in Transition.
Which is kind of looking at the kind of period between the kind of classic Blue Note sound, I guess, and the more kind of funk and fusion stuff. So looking at that late 60s, early 70s when they were first taken over by Liberty. Some good music during that period as well.
And there was a couple of albums that we listened to that kind of fitted in that area.
And next up, Stylistics, round 2, one of my absolute favourite ever records, I think, actually, with one of my favourite ever songs. The song Pieces on here, which is the last track on the second side. I mean, I kind of love the Stylistics, really. I mean, I could listen to them forever, really.
Am I right in saying that this featured in a dream of yours?
Yeah, I had a very odd dream where I was kind of having some kind of crisis in a diner, and I was kind of half lying down on the table of the diner, and this song Pieces started coming out of the napkin dispenser. So make of that what you will. But anyway, obviously produced by Tom Bell, the amazing vocals of Russell Tompkins. Great album, great cover as well. I think actually we need more covers like that.
So when we do these sessions, we try and find connections between the tunes if we can, and the connection with this next album is it's also produced by Tom Bell, and it's the Dell Phonics. I think it's just a self-titled album called the Dell Phonics, and we listened to the track Didn't I Blow Your Mind This Time, which was very, very soulful and very, very short, actually. It's only 3 minutes 25 seconds.
I had a shocking realisation that I love the Dell Phonics, but I actually don't have any of their records, which is very, very strange. And then staying in the soulful mode, went for Paul Kelly's Stealing in the Name of the Lord from the album Dirt. I've always been a bit of a Paul Kelly fan. I don't think he's that kind of much of a big deal on the kind of soul scene, but I like his stuff, and I think I've just read a few things about him recently. I think people are beginning to get his stuff. It's produced by Buddy Killen, who also produced Joe Tex and various other people, and it's on Warner Brothers, I think. Yeah. Very soulful stuff. Recorded at Muscle Shoals and Fame and so forth, so it's got that kind of southern sound on it.
Bizarrely, I actually thought it was Joan Armatrading singing.
Yeah.
But I mean, he does have a similar tone, or she has a similar tone to him.
Yeah.
Obviously, Joan Armatrading, a UK artist. And I guess that was my connection really with the next one, which is a little bit tenuous. This is Labby Siffrey, who is another UK, I don't know, soul artist, pop artist. This is an album called Remember My Song. It's just been reissued on Mr. Bongo. And we listened to the track called The Vulture, which features, who does it feature? Features Ian Wallace from King Crimson on drums. And Brian Bennett from The Shadows.
And Ian Wallace also played with Bob Dylan.
That's right. It's also got Big Jim Sullivan, who was a very famous UK session guitarist, as the producer. And also, I don't think many of the vinyl community will be familiar with Chaz and Dave, but I'm sure Ben Costello is. And interestingly enough, they are also featured on this album. Yeah, Labby Siffrey is kind of very underrated. Was appearing on a number of tracks throughout the 70s.
He was also on television a lot, actually. When I was a kid, he used to be on television.
Right.
Quite a bit, on kind of children's television and kind of all kinds of stuff as well.
This track is particularly, well, this album's particularly famous for the track called I Got There, which was the track that Eminem sampled for his very first hit single. We also noticed that Labby Siffrey clearly was a big influence on J.K. Jamiroquai in his sort of singing and phrasing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Sounded great.
Sounds very good.
Not quite sure what the connection between that one and Webster Lewis was, but that was my next one up. This was kind of produced by Webster Lewis, who's a keyboard player with Herbie Hancock. He played with Herbie Hancock, of course, in the kind of later days of the Headhunters type band with Al Newsom and people, and played the track Give Me Some Emotion, which was a kind of bit of a classic dance floor rare groove
two-step classic.
Yeah,
really nice.
Nice album. Nathaniel Watts and James Gadsden and people like that playing on.
Excellent bass and drums.
It's from the album 8 for the 80s, it's called. And it was recorded in '79, I think.
Definitely not the best cover in town, this one. Probably one of the worst covers, actually. It's like Herbie seems to be going for a real John Travolta look here. He's even got the gold medallion. But, in spite of the cover, actually the back cover's a little bit more exciting. The album Sunlight, Herbie Hancock. Obviously it has the massive version of I Thought It Was You, which was a big hit. And I remember seeing Herbie around this time, actually, at the Hammersmith Odeon. And yeah, I was, a teenager. It was very exciting. We listened to the track called No Means Yes, which has stellar bass and drums from Harvey Mason and Paul Jackson and Bill Summers on percussion. It sounded really fantastic. Worth checking out. And it also has the amazing Good Question track, which features the amazing Tony Williams and Jaco Pastorius.
Yeah, what a combination.
What a combination.
I stole my copy of that record from my sister, so if you're watching Louise, I'm sorry. I fess up now, I'll give it back to you. Then from Herbie to Sly Stone, there is a connection there, obviously. The sort of Sly from the Headhunters album. This is a kind of slightly later post Family Stone record, and I played the track Green Eyed Monster Girl. I don't actually know who's playing on that track. My feeling is that Sly's playing virtually everything on it.
Although he does sound a lot like Larry Graham.
He does sound very much like Larry Graham, indeed.
Well, we went on to this album, which I have just got on